In this episode, Holly shares her journey from restaurant work to becoming a counsellor, exploring the impact of therapy, her mother's illness, and a life-changing decision like choosing not to have children. She discusses friendships, self-discovery, and breaking the stigma around men seeking therapy. And of course, we end with that fun, quick-fire round. Welcome to ChatterBeans, where every cup holds a story. I'm your host, Isaac Kong, and in this brand new podcast series, I'll be sitting down with people from all walks of life. Join me as we dive into their stories, the lessons they've learned, the memories that have shaped them, and those bits of advice they wish they could share with others. And the surprising things you'd never guess just by looking. Every episode, we'll sit, chat, and discover the extraordinary hidden in everyday lives. So grab your favourite brew and settle in. It's time for some good coffee and even better conversation here on ChatterBeans. Holly, welcome to ChatterBeans.
Hello.
So we're in a coffee shop. What is your go-to coffee order?
Oat flat white.
Oat flat white.
Oat flat white.
Interesting.
Delicious.
Our very first guest was an oat latte.
Why do we all like oat milk?
I don't know. I don't like it.
You don't like it?
No, I do not.
What do you have?
I don't think
you
it
had.
blends well, like all steams
It's so
well.
creamy and delicious.
No, thank you. Just no. So an oat flat white.
Is it because it's a good amount of coffee to milk ratio? I think.
Yeah, but that's just a normal flat white. You just don't.
No,
like
but
milk.
I like the oat milk. I'm
Fair
also lactose intolerant. I think because it doesn't agree with me.
Fair enough.
So
an
the
flat
oat
white.
milk is there. Yeah.
Amazing. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you.
Good. So I've known you a really long time.
Very long time.
This is quite exciting, isn't it?
I feel like excited, but I also feel really nervous. I don't
Do
know
you?
why. Yeah.
No need to be nervous. I mean, I am slightly nervous, I guess, because it's my second recording. It
Yeah.
might be the second episode, but it's the second recording. So, yeah. So anyway, welcome. Tell us about you, who you are, what you do, wherever you want to start.
Okay, well, I'm Holly, as you know, and my life currently is that I'm working at John Lewis, minimum wage
Yeah.
paid job, but whatever. I did that because I'd just been studying a diploma in counselling, so that's been sort of the last 3 years of my life, very hard financially, very hard emotionally, time consuming, sort of sacrificed like friendships because I just didn't have time, was exhausted. But now I've qualified.
Amazing.
Yay me.
Yeah.
And it feels, I don't know, I think I'm in a bit of a limbo now where I'm still at John Lewis until I can get enough clients to commit to doing the therapy full time, which is stressful in itself. So I'm in this limbo waiting for clients. I've got a few inquiries, so that's exciting. I guess it's starting my own business as well. This is all
So much going on.
and I think I'm just taking it day by day because I don't really know what else to do with it.
Of course. I think that's a great place to be in.
Yeah, well, we'll see. and then I'm moving country in a few months as well. So it feels very full. I'm at a very full-on point in my life, I think.
And how old are you?
I don't look it, I don't think. I'm 38, nearly 39.
39,
Yeah.
and you've just qualified to be a counsellor?
Yes.
Counsellor. I'm really intrigued by that because one of the reasons I did this podcast is because I think everyone has a passion or they have something that they want to do in their life and they either put it off or something takes over, they have to stick to their day job, they see their friends and they don't have a lot of time to think outside of the box, if you like.
Yeah.
So you obviously made that decision in your mid-30s to be like, right, I want to train to be a counsellor.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Um,
Is it something you've always wanted to do?
no, it's not something I've always wanted to do. But when I was in my early 20s, I went to counselling myself.
Okay.
And I've been in and out of counselling, I'd say, for 10 years now. And for me, that was transformative, massive. My world completely changed. If I hadn't done that, I think I'd be in a very different position than I am now.
Yeah.
I'm in a much better position now, more equipped to deal with shit, can I swear?
Yeah.
So in lockdown, my partner said to me, I was working in a restaurant at the time in central London, very busy, shitty hours, long hours, exhausting. And I was hitting my mid to late 30s, and my partner was like, do you really think you can run around a restaurant in your 50s? And I was like, well, probably not. And he's like, well, what are you going to do then? And I said, I don't know. I don't know. It stresses me out. And he said, well, why don't you look into counselling? And I don't know why. I think before I'd never had the confidence in myself to even consider pursuing something like that, because I didn't consider myself to be clever enough to like go back to school. Like, in your 30s, it's difficult.
Yeah, it's a really difficult thing.
Yeah.
To start something completely new out of your comfort zone at any age, but I
Retraining.
think as we get older, it's hard, right?
It's really hard. Like, again, I'm going to say, like, financially, it was really, really difficult. I took a massive hit, and with like friendships, like not being able to see people.
Yeah.
However, it was the best thing I've ever done because, I started with counselling skills. You start at level 2. So that's like a little taster, I guess, to see, do I like this? And I honestly, I absolutely loved it. I feel so deeply passionate about therapy, about counselling, and about people being able to get to a place they want to be, or to change their lives, to deal with their anxiety, to deal with their depression, whatever it is they're facing, and to come out the other side with a bit more confidence and a bit more, I guess, tools to be able to cope with this stuff daily, as we all
absolutely
are always trying to cope with it daily, right?
Yeah.
So I did it, and then 3 years later I'm qualified, and when I started seeing clients, this might sound weird, but I was like so excited, and I'd come out of a session with someone, and maybe there was some really like upsetting material in that session, but I'd come out of it and I'd feel so buzzy because I'm really lucky to be able to see like the process that someone goes through as well, and can see like when they're starting to like make some realizations, and it's just like great. It's just amazing.
And it's that ability, isn't it, for someone to just be able to talk and unload and share something with someone that they don't know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Which a lot of people shut down that idea, I think. Oh, I don't need that. I don't need to talk to someone, whatever. And I think, I'm really interested in this. Like, we'll come back to this, I think, in a little while. But so take a few steps back, because so I know you obviously very well, and you've worked in restaurants pretty much your whole working life.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So tell us about those early days, like leaving school. You're from a fairly small town.
Yeah, I'm from a very small town.
We're from the small town.
So leaving school, I left school when I was, I think, 16, isn't it? When you don't, I went to college at 16 and did drama and dance.
Did you?
Yeah, did you not know that?
I never knew this.
Drama and interpretive dance. I know, you can't imagine it now, can you? I remember one day...
I had no idea.
Literally, my teacher asked me to dance like a tree. Can you imagine me now doing that? I mean, I tried my best.
I actually can't.
I actually think I was good at drama, but my passion, it wasn't my passion because I didn't pursue it.
You're very dramatic, but...
I am very dramatic.
I never knew that.
Yeah. 2 years at college doing that. I went to Poland and performed dressed as a prostitute. I'm not even kidding. With college, that was the role they gave me.
Are you joking?
No, and we did a performance in Poland.
I'm literally speechless because I had no idea.
I can't believe I've never told you that.
You and Oscar will get on like a house on fire.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I never knew. So you did that for 2 years.
That for a couple of years.
And then what happened?
Went straight into work after that. Loads of different jobs.
Yeah.
Some fun ones that I remember fondly and some awful ones. And I did a lot of jobs actually in quite a short period of time. I think I don't like staying in the same place very long.
Why was that?
I think I get bored, or I get jittery or something.
I can relate to that.
Or I need something more. I need to try something different, get a different skill.
Was it because the college year, you just wasn't doing it for you? You did the 2 years and then you thought, well, I need to earn some money. I want to earn some money, or...
I think always in my head, I probably doubted myself as an actor, because I'd always think, well, why would anyone pick me? You know, there's thousands of people that want to be actors that are already got their leg in, or they already know somebody.
Yeah.
And I obviously didn't have the drive to pursue it. So I was like, what else then? I'm just going to have to earn some money.
That's a really interesting point, because I think, again, so many people, don't they? They like get into their head about things. Oh, well, I can't do this because there's so many people doing it. I think it's why it's taken me so long to get this podcast started, because you see so many successful podcasts or Instagram influencers.
Imposter syndrome, isn't it?
Imposter syndrome. This came up in our first episode with Lauren. We talk about it being fitness instructors, like massive imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
People think that you're automatically switched on and you're the best trainer or whatever. We still get in our heads, right?
100%.
Yeah, and it's such a shame, because it can change our direction of life. But what I guess I'm pleased to hear is that you've brought it back to a point where you're doing something now that you love, right? You've trained up in something new.
Yeah.
So you did those years of working in a restaurant. How was that?
Do you know what? I've made some really good... What I've taken the positives is I've made some excellent friends. Restaurants are like such this weird environment that they're like your best... Almost like temporarily your best mates, and they know everything about you.
Yeah.
Like the weirdest stuff about you that you wouldn't tell your like old school mates.
Yeah.
Because it's just a weird environment.
Well, you're always together, right? Like
always.
And on those moments of like Saturday nights till late, right? So then you go out for drinks.
Of course. Yeah. That was always happening. And then you'd be there together and the next morning with a hangover, getting through life together. And you get to see I saw a lot of people's lives. So I guess we're in our 20s, and I was doing it in my 30s too. You see people's lives changing. It's really interesting, you know. I have deep friendships from those days.
Yeah, exactly. I remember our days of Frankie and Benny's.
Excellent. I think Frankie and Benny's was actually was it my favourite? Maybe not my number one favourite, but maybe number two, because it was just such a good time.
It was just a tight-knit group of people. I think it was those couple of years that we were there.
It was just really funny.
And it's so ridiculous. It's like Frankie and Benny's.
But it's nice because, you know, as you said, we met there, and here we are years.
Exactly.
How many years ago was that?
15.
And here we are.
I was there
doing a podcast, chatting.
I turned 18 and I applied for the job on a weekend job working on the bar.
You were such a good barman.
I loved it. Do you remember I'd have the Coke pump and I'd be pouring.
We'd just come and ask you to be pouring drinks like that. He like used to put the cup down and he'd pour like a bottle of water, whatever it was, anything, and he'd like raise it up
about
as high
2
as he could.
meters in the air.
But he'd still get it in the glass every time, and I don't know why it was funny, but it was just really, really
just
hilarious.
Really ridiculous. I think it kept us going, didn't it? On those weekends, it was amazing.
Do you remember? I don't know can I say other people's names on here?
Yeah.
Zulu.
Yes.
I remember we taped him to an office chair with cling film.
Yes.
Like we taped him completely around his whole body, stuck in this office chair, and we pushed him out into the middle of the restaurant, a full restaurant. Like, who does that? But it's so funny.
It was so ridiculous. It was such weird times.
Ridiculous is the word.
Yeah. And obviously now Frankie and Benny's. I don't know how many exist anymore. Probably
Sadly,
just one
yeah.
or two, sadly.
Yeah.
Oh, rest in peace. You worked in restaurants for quite a number of years and you moved to London. What was the decision to move to London at that point? Because I'd come a few years before you.
Yeah. I remember I was in my 20s, I had such bad anxiety, I wouldn't even visit London. And then obviously I
remember.
Yeah. Couldn't get on a tube. I thought that London was really dangerous. I mean, it is somewhat dangerous, but I was convinced as soon as I stepped off a train, I'd be getting attacked. This just proper catastrophizing and really bad anxiety. So obviously I did a lot of work on that in therapy. And then I think it was when I hit 30 and I just had this obviously 30, what am I doing with my life? You know, Bury St Edmunds is a really small town. I kind of know everybody.
Yeah.
What is my career here? What is my life going to look like if I stay here? And I didn't want it anymore.
No.
And then I felt like I had the power and I had my anxiety was gone. So I was like, well, I'm just going to move to London then.
Turning 30, because I relate to that, that's when my life completely changed at 30. Made a few significant changes. How was it moving to London from small town at that age as well?
I mean, I just drank it in, honestly. I was out all the time and trying to meet everyone I possibly could. I love meeting people.
Yeah.
I love people from all different kinds of places with different ideas, different opinions, because I just find humans really interesting.
Yeah.
So I'd just be doing that all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know how I didn't burn out. I was all work
You were
and play.
always
Like,
on the go. I
yeah.
don't think I saw you that much in the first few years.
I was meeting new people.
Exactly. And you were working in restaurants as well, right?
Yeah,
so
working
it's a
in
really
restaurants.
conducive environment to like meet new friends in London.
100%.
Because it's one of the things I hear all the time. People talk to me in my classes like, why is it so hard to make friends in London? And it just is, I guess. People have their own agenda, their own lives.
Yeah.
But I think an environment like that is one of the benefits.
It is a benefit. But also, I will say, I met a lot of friends that were like temporary, and not even in a bad
Yeah.
way. Not that
No,
we
exactly.
fell out or anything. They were just like good for that year that I was in that restaurant. And there's
Yeah.
no like bad blood at all. It was just, we were mates for a year, and it's
Yeah,
okay, kind of thing.
Totally. And I love that because I think people come and go in life.
They do.
And it's taken me a long time to get into this mentality of like, oh, I've got no friends, or I haven't got the types of friends that I wish I'd had. Like, you know, I haven't got a big group of gays that I just go partying with all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with that now. Like, I have friends that I see every now and again, and we do dinners or we do events or whatever, like, and that's cool. But I think that comes with age as well, doesn't it? There's always this pressure when you're younger.
Do you still want that sort of big group of gay friends to go partying with? Is there something still there, or are you completely sort of in a different space?
Sometimes, but I go through these waves of like, I see it on Instagram, and of course, like we always look on Instagram and try and compare our lives and stuff. But actually, I'm in a really good spot, and I think meeting friends and maintaining friends is hard anyway, right?
It is hard.
And so I don't believe anymore in forcing a friendship.
Mm-hmm.
If there is a friendship, there's a friendship. If it goes because you're at a different point or you turn into a different place in life, then fine.
I always say to people, because I think, you talk about friendships, and we've spoken before about you needing quite a lot from friendships, or you wanting quite a lot from a friendship.
Yeah.
And, I've spoken to my sister about similar things in terms of relationships, and I've had my own conversations with my counsellor in terms of what I want and need from a relationship and friendships.
Yeah.
And I moved from, expecting my friends to be in my life all the time whenever I needed them, and I was their number one.
Yeah.
But I had to move through that when they started having children and getting married. And that was a really difficult time. So I hear you on those sort of thoughts of letting that stuff go, because that's a grief, that's a loss. That's the loss of that friendship as it was then.
Yep.
But now the friendships are different.
Yeah. And that's okay.
It's okay now. It wasn't at the time. I was deeply traumatized by it. But now it is okay.
Yeah.
And I always say to people, you can't get everything you need or want from one person. It's not possible, and it's not fair. And it took me ages to realize that. I want my boyfriend to give me this, everything that I need, be this person. That's not realistic. And it's not fair to put that on someone.
No.
And now I'm in a place where I understand that. I understand that fully.
Yeah.
I go to this friend for this thing, this friend for something else, my partner for something else, my counsellor for all of the heavy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
so true.
It is true.
And yeah. I find it fascinating because it's the expectations of people. And like I said, it's taken me a long time, and I don't think I'm fully there. I still have some high expectations of others, I suppose.
And I don't want to get into it too much now, but this stuff's probably coming from childhood, right? Like something in you and was in me too, and still is to some degree.
Yeah.
What are you looking for? What are we looking for? We're searching for this, perfection? We're searching for a mum, a dad, a partner, a friend, all in one.
Yeah.
It's really complicated. If you didn't get those things as a child, you're looking for them wherever you go.
Yeah, if you didn't get them and maybe your friends as childhood had it.
Yeah,
I always we always have this thing of like the perfect family, the mum, dad, the brother, the sister, the son, the son and the daughter. It's like, that used to be like the perfect family. It just doesn't exist anymore, and it shouldn't exist.
No, it shouldn't.
It's okay not to. So I think we do compare, and certainly my therapist has asked a lot, tries to slip in about going back to childhood and finding those things, and it's true. Really interesting.
The idea of us as when we grew up with there was no social media. So our social media was looking at friends that have, let's say, a big house, a mum and a dad still together, a brother and a sister going on holidays. That was our social media, that thing that we would be jealous about coming from, let's say, a broken home. And now it's moved on to Instagram, where it's become that on crack,
literally.
which is why I think, the majority of the population are dealing with anxiety and depression and low self-esteem because of that. But that was our version, when we were younger. It was looking to other people for those things.
Yeah. I never thought about it like that. And you'd always have those people at school that would play all the instruments and go to all the clubs and then mum, dad there and everything. So I suppose it is hard not to compare. But yeah.
Both parents turning up at parents' evening,
Yeah.
people being in the school play, people singing in a band, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this little inner voice going, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm shit,
So now that you're trained to be a counsellor, where did that, so obviously you did your, working in restaurants, partying, like coming to London, meeting lots of people, obviously gone through therapy yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So why did it spring up again in your mid-30s? Where did that come from?
Well, it was triggered by what my partner said, but I think the time this came about was just after my mum died, to be honest.
Okay.
I think my mum died just before COVID, and then it was. And then me and my partner had the conversation of, can you work in a restaurant for the rest of your life? And I think, I feel like I might get upset when I say this. That's okay, though.
It's okay.
I think having, anyone who might be listening to this, having a parent die, no matter what the relationship was, whether it was a healthy relationship or not a healthy relationship, it's still like massively impactful on your life. And I think that was the push I needed. Life's too fucking short. We say it all the time, but that meant something. When my mum died, that really meant something to me. Life's too short.
Yeah.
I say it, I'd said it before, but I never really understood what it meant. Now I understand what it means. So that was the big kick up the arse, I could be gone tomorrow.
Exactly.
You're not promised anything, are you?
And I think you realise that the older we get, you have more baggage, right? Which is why the years feel like they're going faster.
Yeah.
You've got more to look back on.
Yeah.
And sadly, tragic events happen.
Yeah.
The older we get. And I suppose just thinking about your mum, it wasn't like a sudden death, was it?
No, it was fucking horrendous, excuse my language.
No.
My mum got early onset Alzheimer's, and I think we found out when she was around early 50s, maybe 51, 52.
And how old was she when she died?
She was, I think it was about a 10-year stretch she had it. And the decline in 10 years was rapid. So it wasn't, this is quite deep. Is it okay?
Yeah.
So I didn't have a very good relationship with my mum anyway. It was a very turbulent upbringing. And when she got ill, it was really hard to manage. And I ducked out of it. I couldn't cope with it at the time. I was in my 20s. They just told me my mum was dying. We had a complicated relationship already, but obviously I felt something about the fact my mum was dying and the fact that I have 50-50 chance of having the same gene, so my life going the same way. And I ducked out of it. I couldn't do it. And my sister took over. And me and my sister fell out about this for years because I wasn't there. I didn't help her.
Well, you see, it's interesting because I knew that you and your sister have had an interesting relationship to a little bit. I remember thinking around the period of your mum's illness getting worse, I was like, wow, I've never really heard this.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was being mentioned.
Yeah.
Is that because you shut down? You didn't want to deal with it?
Oh, I would expect so, yeah.
Yeah.
I was drinking a lot, taking a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
I guess that was my way of coping with what the situation was.
Because you are a significantly different person. I tell Oscar this, like I wish he'd known you back in the Frankie's days, Frankie and Benny's days, and then into your mid-20s and then to now. And even, I'm sure Vitor, he'll be listening to this, your partner, thinking, wow, you were difficult at the beginning.
And that was only 6 years ago.
Exactly.
But this, I owe all of this to therapy.
Yeah.
I really mean that. And myself, like I will take credit for it as well because therapy's hard.
Yeah.
And you have to be invested. And I was fully invested to talk about like the most painful things you can think about.
Did you start therapy before your mum died?
Started before because of bad upbringing, bad relationships with my parents.
They're divorced, right?
They're divorced. Yeah, they divorced when I was, I think, 8. And you know how I dealt with that as a child? I remember it happening and me being like fine with it on the outside.
Yeah.
You know, oh good, that means I get a Christmas and a birthday present from both parents. Really? I get double of everything.
How interesting.
And when I'm older, talking about that in therapy, I'm crying about it. I'm crying for the loss
Yes.
what I'm going to call a normal family.
Yeah.
I know it's not a normal family. I know that's not a real thing. But, you know, the normal idea of a family where your mum and dad love each other and love you and
Yeah.
that perfect thing we talked about earlier.
And that's so hard because you can't control it.
No.
You have absolutely no control on what happened to you growing up.
Yeah.
Almost your life is in someone's hands. When you bring someone into the world, are you giving them a choice? And almost like you've got to look after them.
You definitely feel something about this.
I do.
I can hear it.
And I'm like, potentially it is unfair to bring someone in. But does that mean we should all just stop having children and not giving our chance to look after someone? Because me and Oscar now, when we talk so passionately about having our children, you know, we're actively talking about children now and how do we get to that point of surrogacy and where we'll live in the future.
Yeah.
We talk so passionately about, because he comes from a broken home, if you like that term or whatever, same as me, that we're so determined to make it work. That chance. I want to bring a child in and give them that chance to make it something that I didn't have.
That's a lot of pressure to put on yourself, first of all.
I know.
Which doesn't surprise me. I think a lot of people think like that. You know, you go one of two ways as a kid growing up in a broken home. You either have kids and think, I will never be like my parents, or you have kids and you follow the same pattern.
Or you think, I don't want kids because I don't want it kid to turn out what happened to me.
I don't want children.
And I'm really interested because you have such a different view to me.
It's so funny because when I was in the small town of Bury St Edmunds, I remember saying to my partner at the time, we have to have a baby. We need to have a baby. And looking back now, that was, if I look at myself and why I'd said that, that wasn't what I wanted. What I wanted was security. What I wanted was safety. What I wanted was parents. And I'm, if I have a baby with this person, they have to be with me forever. They have to look after me. I'm looking for this parental role.
Yeah.
Thank God I didn't have a child at that point, because then we'd be talking about a child that was probably not coming into a very good home because I was all over the place.
Yeah.
And now I'm in a good point in my life where I'm more calm and understand things better, but I don't want children. It's not for me.
That's great. And
I think so, yeah.
I think it's a great mindset, like, to get to and to admit to it.
And maybe some of that is because my parents made some mistakes and I'm the product of that. Maybe it is.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I think I have cried about that in therapy. I've cried for that loss of why did I never want children? Is that, and because that's okay to cry about as well.
Of course.
But I just don't feel it. I don't have that feeling that people talk about.
Yeah.
I really want a child. I don't have it.
So now that you're trained and you did, I think when you were training, you had to see a lot of clients, right? You had to do, was it 100 hours?
Yeah, I did 114 in the end.
And how was that?
It was...
Because that's a lot of baggage from a lot of people.
Yeah, it was.
Very intense period of time.
And we're training, like that was a training point, and of course the imposter syndrome before my first client, thinking, what the fuck am I doing? What do I know? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do I know anything? How
Exactly.
can I do anything with this client?
You've basically sat in a classroom, someone's told you what to say and what to do, right? And then...
For me, the biggest thing in therapy is the relationship that you have between you and the client. That's the most important thing. I can learn all the theory, right? But if the relationship isn't there, none of the theory matters.
Exactly.
So I've got all the theory in the back of my mind, but when I'm with someone, I'm concentrating on just that relationship because I believe that's the most important thing. When can you sit there and talk to someone in real life, in anybody's real life? When can you talk to someone knowing for sure that's not going to get told to somebody else? Know for sure that they're not going to judge you for it? Speak freely where you have no fear that you're going to be judged and no one's going to give you any advice. You're going to come to the conclusions yourself without anyone going, oh, I don't think you should do that. Yeah. We don't get that in real life. We don't get it from our friends or our partners. It's just not that.
No.
So being given that opportunity and that relationship is so important, which is why it's such an intimate relationship. I've had sex dreams about my therapist.
Huh?
So my therapist before, I'm not going to say her name, but she was, I think she's about in her 60s and it was a woman. I'm straight. But because I didn't fancy my therapist, or did I? I didn't fancy her like that. It's more of like, because you're in this situation where it's so intimate. She knew more about me than anyone in my entire life, more than my partner, more than my best friends that I've had for years. And you're in this like vulnerable state with this person and they're looking after you. They're keeping you safe. iconic, really. It's just amazing.
It is. And I think for anyone that hasn't had therapy or had the luxury, because it is a privilege, let's be honest.
It definitely is a privilege.
It's not easy to get on the NHS for whatever reason. We don't need to get into the politics
so
of the country.
So when I did my placement, I was with people who had been on the NHS wait list.
For a long time, I imagine.
Some people for a long time, some people not so bad. I think it depends when they're coming in. But yeah, you see that when you see the clients, the variety of the clients and the variety of the issues. And I think, as a trainee at the time, I think, my God, I'm not qualified to be seeing this person.
No.
We're talking about, massive trauma here. This should be a specialist who deals with trauma. This shouldn't be a student.
No.
But there's no other choice for them.
Even the best therapists have got to start somewhere.
100%.
But yeah, the role of a therapist and having counselling and stuff like that is such a privilege. But I would just really urge anyone that even slightly thinks I need to talk to someone completely separate and external to my life, if you can make it work somehow, I think it's one of the best things I've done.
So it is the best thing I did.
I've seen my guy for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
But it's also knowing when to break away, I suppose.
Yes, well, we've had this conversation
as
well,
haven't
we?
And
it's scary. It's like another bereavement.
Yeah.
It's a loss of a relationship.
Because like you say, it's that one person in your life, more than any single other, like anyone else in your life, knows every little bit of detail.
Like fucked up shit about you. Do you know what I mean? Like
you can literally tell them anything.
When you get to a stage where these, like, I'm sure everybody has these thoughts. I hope they do anyway, because I do. Like these intrusive, fucked up thoughts that you'd never say out loud because it's so it feels so humiliating. You say that out loud,
I know,
and no one goes, "Oh my God, you're disgusting." They just sit there and talk about it with you.
It's quite interesting that we're talking about this and the fact that you have a therapist and I have one, because I don't talk about it very often with people. Certainly, if any of my family or friends from the past are listening to this, which hopefully they will be, they might be surprised to hear that, because I feel like I'm not ashamed to talk about it. And actually, I tell random people in my gym classes, like, oh yeah, I saw my therapist today or whatever. But you don't tell the people closest to you. Almost, I guess for me, was fear of judgment. Or surely you don't need a therapist, but it's because those deepest thoughts and like things take over, right? And sometimes you need someone completely external.
It's coming from shame, I think, when you feel like you can't talk about, I'm going to therapy, and the fear of the judgment. But I will say the judgment, if there is any judgment, it's that person's problem. It's not about you.
Yeah.
It's never about you.
No,
it's always that person's stuff. What do you need therapy for?
Their preconceived ideas, right?
Yeah. But because they'd be battling something in there. Maybe they're jealous of you. Maybe they wish they could do that. They wish they could open up with someone.
Yeah.
Maybe they're too scared. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. It's a luxury to have it. We have it available. I wouldn't be without it, really.
Same.
I mean, yeah.
I just want to say as well, like, obviously you talk about the cost of it, and I don't know if this will be useful for anybody listening, but there is ways to get cheaper therapy.
Okay.
So as a counsellor myself, I would offer a couple of sessions a week at a much lower cost for, let's say, students or people on low income.
Yeah.
People that don't have a job.
Okay.
There are a lot of therapists that will offer those slots. Obviously, those slots get filled really, really quickly. So other things you can do is there'll be individual charities. So instead of going through the NHS, you can self-refer to a lot of individual charities that do therapy. Yes, you might see a student therapist, but I've met some fantastic student therapists. Just because you're a student doesn't make you any better or worse than someone who's been practicing for 20 years. I've had therapists in the past that I've seen for one day because they were awful and they've been in the game for 20 years.
You might get a therapist assigned to you, or you might pick one. It doesn't mean you have to stick with them, right?
Well, on the NHS it does, unfortunately.
Well, yeah.
But in real life, no. It's like shopping.
Yeah, you've got to find the right fit for you.
And it's really important for it to be the right fit. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to open up. You're not going to be able to trust.
No, exactly.
It's so important. And I think you would know in your gut from the first session if that was going to work. And some people just don't vibe. Do you know what I mean? And that's
exactly.
okay.
Exactly. So we've talked a lot about therapy, where you're at with your job, which is super exciting.
Very exciting.
So what is next for you then? So now that you've just qualified recently, what does life look like for you? What's your plans for the next however long?
So I'm now on the counselling directory, so I guess my business is now out there, and my marketing boyfriend is twiddling his thumbs, putting me all over the internet.
Amazing.
Which I have mixed feelings about, but so I guess I'm in a limbo. I'm waiting for clients. I'm having inquiries. I'm still at John Lewis. I'm in the process of moving to another country, which will be in April. I don't know what life looks like apart from I know I'm moving.
So why are you moving? Where are you going? What?
Moving to Portugal. My partner's Portuguese. Again, in lockdown, where we had all of our epiphanies, where I changed my career in my mid-30s. Me and my partner said, we're not having kids, so what we're doing? What are we earning money for? What we're going to use this for? And what do we want? Do we want to be in England? And I think for my partner, it was difficult because he's been here 10 years and he's been out of his country for 15. For him, it was actually more of a big deal to move back to his country than it was for me to move. For me, I guess I'm thinking of it like a holiday, right?
Well, you think it's exciting, right?
Reality
Somewhere
has not hit.
new. Yeah. And you've always lived in England, haven't you? So, yeah.
I'm going for the weather. I'm going for the lifestyle, the slower pace of life, which I think will be difficult to start with because we're used to getting everything with a phone call, with a text, with an app, really quickly.
Yeah.
It's not like that in Portugal. So I'm going to have to slow down my whole pace of life. The bus won't turn up for 4 hours, and that just is what it is. I might not get a visa for 2 years, which means I won't be able to leave the country. That's just what it is. It's the bureaucracy.
And this was also triggered because you went for a long period of traveling, didn't you, together?
Yes. Yeah, actually, just before one of the bits of COVID happened, it was all like fine again. It was when Omicron, I remember. Was it called Omicron?
Omicron, yeah.
We booked our flights or whatever because they were like, oh yeah, eat out to help out and all of that stuff. So everything's fine. We booked all our flights.
Was that weird period of time? Was it like September or something?
Yes.
And I went to Mykonos at that point. It was one of the only places I think we could go or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
God.
And you went traveling around the world.
I went traveling around the world, which was fascinating, amazing. I don't want to go on about it too much. I feel like one of those traveling wankers. Do you know what I mean?
I think you should, because I think what's remarkable about you is you've gone from that deep anxiety about coming to London.
I wouldn't even get on a tube, mate.
Exactly. To then traveling the world.
Do you remember I wouldn't fly? I didn't fly for 4 years because I was too scared of flying.
Yes.
And then I think we worked out I took 17 flights when we were around South America.
How did that happen?
Therapy.
Sorry
to go back to it.
No.
Do you know what? With the flying thing, I read a book. We were going to Spain.
We were.
And I was reading the book in the car on the way to the airport, and I finished it on the way to the airport, and that was the first flight I'd taken in 4 years.
And you were fine on that flight?
And I was fantastic on that flight, and it was life-changing. I can't remember the name. It's a book by Alan Carr, not the comedian, the one who does the quit smoking guy, the books. He did I can't remember what the title is, but something about flying.
And then that completely unlocked everything, wasn't it?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
And London helped, and therapy helped, and my life. God, it was just such a different path for me, actually, isn't it? That I've actually taken.
I tell Oscar about you all the time, and we didn't see each other for a few years as well. And I remember we met for a beer in a pub in Islington just before you went travelling.
Yeah.
And it was just before I started to make a series of big changes in my life as well. And yeah, you've gone on a massive journey. So London, traveling around the world, what was that like?
It's epic, mate. It was difficult, but it was great.
Yeah.
I feel like classic me, romanticized it.
Of course.
And it wasn't easy.
It's hard work, right?
It's hard work, especially when you're older, because I don't want to be woken up at 2 a.m. in a hostel. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Traveling with a bag.
Traveling with a bloody massive rucksack on 17-hour buses where people stop you, not soldiers, police with guns, getting on, checking your documents. It's scary. It's weird.
It's worlds
it's
apart
different.
from what
it's
you used to.
different.
Yeah.
But that was eye-opening. It was interesting. Helps me understand other cultures better.
For sure.
People's way of life, people's opinions, people's politics. I understand it all better when you're in it, when you see it.
Yeah. I think you needed that, right?
Yeah. That was great for me, actually.
Completely different culture.
Yeah.
And so many discussions and, finding compromise in everything that we do.
Yeah.
And I think that applies to you as compromise, right?
Always.
Me and you used to be quite similar, I think. Like
Yeah.
so set in our ways.
Yeah, wouldn't compromise on anything.
Yeah. And I think it's quite refreshing to see you and Vitor now, like just so in your minds are so aligned in what you want for the future, which is moving to Portugal.
It's lucky because I think that's, well, maybe people do get that, I don't know, but especially with the not wanting kids, like it's lucky to both be in the same boat as that, and it's lucky to both be in the same place at the same time in terms of moving to another country, because it's a big thing for both of us. It's a big thing,
of course. Yeah.
So that worked out well, but there's been a lot of compromise on the way, I won't lie.
Yeah.
So I feel like more on my side, to be honest, but
we always feel like that.
Yeah.
So with your life that you've had, particularly in your adult years, I guess, from Frankie and Benny's onwards, what have been like your biggest life lessons or bits of advice you may have been given that you wish you could share? Things that you've learned, and might be more than one.
Oh, I've got loads. You can't get everything from one person is a great thing for me that I learned. I don't want to give advice, by the way, because I don't know, I'm not really allowed as a counsellor. So, but also I don't think you should.
Fine. Well, then
I'm going to tell you things that people have said to me that I've resonated with. How about that?
Go for it.
When I talked to my counsellor about my mum dying and me feeling guilt for not being there and not being able to cope with it, she said to me, you did the best that you could at that point in your life. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
It's like I'd been forgiven, or I was able to forgive myself. I did all I could for that point that I was in my life. Yes. I think that's a good way to look at things.
Yeah, I completely resonate with that, because it's almost, I'm going to use the cycle class analogy, which people are probably going to get fed up with, but I always say to people in my class, you know, the aim in my class is to ride to the beat of the music and keep adding on as much resistance. And I say to people, today, your highest resistance may be lower than your class that you did yesterday. And that's okay. Do whatever you can do today.
Yeah.
And I think that applies to so many aspects of our life.
Yeah.
So I love that bit of advice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wish we really stuck true to that a bit more.
Sometimes you just need to be reminded of it, I think.
Yeah. And not give ourselves a hard time, right?
And forgive yourself. Let yourself off.
Yeah.
Our harshest critics are us, aren't they?
Yeah.
You'd never treat anybody else like this.
Yeah.
But we treat ourselves like this. Another thing I would say, like, if you're having a hard time, which we often are, and it's really hard to, you know, a lot of people won't take this on. When you're going through shit, what I'm about to say won't mean anything.
Yeah.
But it won't last forever.
Mm.
It's a moment. It might be a fucking shit moment. It might be a shit moment for a year. It might be a shit 5 years. But we move, life moves, things move. You won't feel exactly how I'm feeling like right this second. I won't feel in 5 minutes. I'll feel slightly different.
Yeah.
And just knowing that there is the possibility to feel different, I think is a really good thing to remember. When if I'm having an anxiety attack, I had one the other day actually, and that was the first one I've had in years.
Wow.
I think it was about moving. And I sat there and I tell myself, this won't last forever. I've done this before and I've been okay after. I know I can get through this. It might be shit for the next hour or however long, but I know I can do it. Yeah. And just this sort of self-talk, I won't feel like this tomorrow. Or I might, but I won't feel like it next week.
Yeah.
You know, or in a month or whatever. It's temporary. It doesn't change the pain being really real in that moment. I get it. It's hard. So that's another thing I'd say. And just be nice to each other.
Yeah.
This is a classic, isn't it?
For me, it really resonates about friendships ending.
Yeah.
And we always think, you know, we hear about being nice to each other or doing the best that you can do in the moment. But sometimes that's to let someone go, right?
I'd say more.
Like, I think we always have this guilt, like, oh, I've got a friendship, but they might not be doing it for you anymore. Or like, you recognize that things are changing. We don't want to be horrible to someone by cutting off a relationship or a friendship. But eventually just be honest. And like you say,
put yourself first rather than them. And that takes time to get to that place, I think, to have the confidence
and without
to do
feeling
that.
selfish about it.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes the fact is we just need to be a bit selfish if you see it as a selfish move.
Everybody, no matter what anybody says, we are all selfish. We are all obsessed with ourselves. in our own heads all the time. That's why when people come up to me and say, oh, I think that person was looking at me, or they think this thing about me, I always say, no one cares.
No.
They're so wrapped up in their own shit.
Yeah.
Really. And I know it's hard to think like that sometimes, but really people are only obsessed with themselves. So do the same thing. You've got to live with yourself. It's only you that's going to be the constant thing in your life.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
do what you need to do.
Yeah.
It might take some time to get to that decision. I think it did for you, didn't it?
It did, yeah. Because decisions have consequences.
Yeah.
You know, if you end a relationship or a friendship, there's going to be ties there somewhere along the line, and that just comes with a bit of baggage sometimes, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
It's scary. And again, it's the grief thing. It is a loss.
Yeah.
Even if it's the right thing to do for you, it's still a loss. It's still another thing.
Exactly.
Which is why I think we hold on to things for longer as well.
Yeah.
Because it will be painful.
Exactly. I'm just intrigued about particularly guys and having therapy, men. Like your experience of what you saw when you were doing your 114 sessions. What was your split? It may not be that at all.
Predominantly female.
Was it?
However, I did see...
That doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't surprise me either. But what I will say, I think I can say this, I've had a couple of inquiries for my business, all men.
Really?
And what I understand therapy-wise is men work better online in general because there's some kind of, I'm going to call it a barrier. There's something because I think it's quite intense sitting face to face with someone.
It is.
Especially for a man.
Yeah.
So men tend to gravitate towards online or walk and talks. And walk and talks is like a eco-therapy type thing. You know, you're out in a park, in a wood, whatever.
Wow.
Talking, but you're side by side rather than sat right in front of each other. So the eye contact isn't always direct.
Yeah.
But I think it's hard for men. I feel like, you know, women are very in a bad position in most things in life.
Yeah.
But the one thing I will give to men, and this is a massive thing, is they're not allowed to be emotional.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to cry, and people might go, oh, she's so emotional. But it's like, okay, because she's a female. Men can't, right? This isn't my opinion, by the way.
No, this is society that's kind of...
say.
Yeah.
Grow up, get up, grow some balls, man up, all of this stuff. From a very young age, you know, if a 4-year-old boy falls on the floor, a parent might say, come on, just get up. Stop crying, get up.
Yeah.
It's like a reaction.
Don't be a girl.
Don't be a girl, yeah. Don't be a pussy, all of this stuff. That narrative all the way through a man's life, from a boy to a man, is always there. So how can they then, at 30 or whatever age, go, I need some help and I need to go and cry to someone?
Yeah.
Because it feels alien to them. And that's why, I don't know how much I can say. Well, this is just my opinion, I guess. If you look at like a lot of crime, it's predominantly men. Where's the outlet?
Yeah.
Where they haven't had an outlet. I'm not saying that any of the crimes are okay, by the way.
No, of course.
Of course. But I feel for men, it's easier to be angry. It's more acceptable in society to be an angry man than a sad man.
Yes.
So that's what people revert to. That's what men revert to. It's more... How mental is it that we live in a world where, even in like a relationship, a girl might say, oh, my boyfriend stood up for me. He punched the other guy in the face.
Yeah. Why?
And it's like a hot thing.
Yeah.
Or a girl, and I've heard girls say this, oh, my boyfriend cried. I didn't know what to do. I didn't like it. He's supposed to be protecting me.
But it's changing.
I think it's changing. I don't think there would have been many men at all, but I definitely have men. I've seen men and maybe the content is slightly different from a female, but the emotions are the bloody same.
Yeah.
They feel the same things. Lonely, depressed, anxious, low self-confidence, all of it. And the sad thing for men is that they can't even feel that they can talk about it.
I know.
Even with their mates, you know. And there is a movement. I see it. Like,
it's changing. Yeah.
It is changing.
Yeah, definitely. So if you could have coffee with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
My mates.
Your mates?
My mates.
Yeah. Just making some time to have coffee.
Having a drink with any of my friends.
Yeah.
I know that's really naff and that's not the answer you wanted. So I'm trying to think of something more exciting.
It is what it is.
That's who I care about the most.
Yeah.
No, just my mates.
Love it. And where would you go? Just down the pub or coffee shop?
I know you were saying coffee and I was thinking coffee.
Coffee-based podcast. There's not
Glass
much
of
coffee.
wine.
It's fine.
I'd probably go to, do you know what? Just round my house, maybe.
Yeah.
Come round, have a coffee. My friend comes round on Wednesdays often, and we have a coffee. And it's just, we're so busy all the time.
Totally.
No one's got time for each other. So to have 2 hours with your mate
Yeah.
is more important than me sitting down with. I want Amy Winehouse is in my head because I think
Really?
she's cool.
Yeah.
But I would still rather sit down with one of my
No,
mates.
perfect. I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, it's time for the quick fire round.
I'm excited for this because I don't know what you're going to say.
What is the first thing you do in the morning?
I don't think I can say that on here. Go to the toilet?
Many people will be doing the same thing.
Well, I'm sure, but I'm not sure I want to be on record for saying it out loud.
Too late.
Yeah, that would be the first thing. And then I weigh myself after.
Do you? I do that too. Favourite place you visited and why?
What, like country?
Yes.
Okay. At the end of the South America trip, we spent some time in a place called Morro in Brazil. And it was like an island. There were no cars. The ambulance was like a 4x4.
Oh my God.
Like go-kart.
Quad bike.
Yeah, quad bike.
Yeah.
And I have never genuinely felt calm like it.
Really?
There was nothing. My head is busy. It's fucking busy and really annoying. And I felt nothing there was nothing in my brain. It was so nice. Eating
Amazing.
lobster on the beach that was so cheap and drinking beers. I was really fond memories there.
Favourite way to spend your day off? If you get many days off.
Yeah, there's 2 ways. So one would be full with seeing people, seeing mates, catching up, coffees, beers, going to a park, whatever. And the other one would be to relax and not do anything.
Perfect.
And not feel guilty about it.
If you could time travel, would you go forwards or would you go backwards?
I wouldn't go forwards because then I'm missing out on what I don't know what I might be missing out on.
What a deep answer.
Is it?
So you'd go
Who
backwards?
knew? I'd stay exactly where I am. Can I say that?
Yes. What's the weirdest thing you've Googled recently?
God.
Can you say?
Oh, when I was having an anxiety attack the other day, I Googled, what does it mean? This isn't that weird, I don't think. I think everyone does this.
Go on.
What's happening if I'm having like prickly feeling in my chest and a hot chest? Because I thought I was having a heart attack. Not like me to catastrophize at all.
Not dramatic at all.
10 years of counselling turns out doesn't work at all. It does. But I Googled it and apparently it wasn't a heart attack. So I was pleased with that.
Well, that's good to hear.
It was an anxiety attack.
Amazing. Well, not so amazing. It was an anxiety attack.
But better than a heart attack.
Better than a heart attack.
I
We'll take it.
suppose.
We'll take it. If your life was a movie, what would the title be?
Oh, I feel like the only things I'm thinking of are like really cheesy.
That's fine. What comes to
Like
your head?
New Beginnings. I can't. You can't. We can't. That's disgusting.
New beginnings. I love it. You've said it now. Fine.
What about? No, it all sounds naff. Transform. Like what the hell? No.
We'll stick with new beginnings.
Oh, great.
Well, Holly, thank you so much for being on ChatterBeans today. I've loved our conversation, especially because I've known where you've been and your journey of life. Where can people connect with you?
So I have an Instagram page, which is hollyibbs.therapy. Holly Ibbs, HOLLYIBBS.therapy. I'm also, if you Google my name, I believe you'll be taken to the counselling directory where I am, and you can read a little bit more about
Perfect.
how I work, what I do,
Nice.
etc.
Well, I wish you all the luck in your adventures moving to
No, I hope
Portugal.
you'll be coming to see me.
Of course. Thank you so much.
I could have talked for hours, honestly.
Yeah, me too. I wish we could go on longer.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'll have
Thank
to come back
you.
on in a year or so.
Yeah,
and tell
see
us
where
how you're getting on.
where we are then. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to ChatterBeans. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. If you liked this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. And for more behind-the-scenes moments, guest updates, and a peek into the world of ChatterBeans, follow us on Instagram at chatter.beans. Until next time, grab a coffee, sit back, and let's keep chatting.